for the traveling Todd Duncan. And so in just a moment, we're going to bring everyone's favorite leadership coach, energy coach, Brian Biro. So we're just having a few little technical difficulties and glitches getting started, but we're super pumped. We are going to create something fun and special and exciting today together. And let's see, is Brian here? He is getting close. But here's what I'm going to ask from you. So typically in these things, we have Todd and the mothership. And when Todd's in the mothership, he has other people, all these great and lovely people who are helping him to come up with great questions and quotes and all of those things. What I'm going to ask you to do is to participate with me. Help co-create something really cool today, because I am only going to be locked into the conversation with Brian, which means that I need help from you with anything that needs to be called out. So if you find something that's tweetable, something that's powerful, something that's exciting and insightful, I'm asking for you to throw that into the group chat and make sure that in the group chat, it's there for all of us to see. And that is my ask of you. Bear with me. I think that's Brian calling in now. Hold on a second. Let's see. Hey, Scott, do we got Brian in?
Not yet. I'm on the phone with him.
Not yet. You're on the phone with him. Wow. I apologize for making something so simple, maybe a tiny bit more complicated. So here is my question to you guys. Like, if there is anything, you've probably been through the fuel course, and we are going to be talking about energy, how we can harness it, how we can create it, how we can change it, and like the greatest challenges that are in front of us. But what questions do you have? It can be either for you, or it can be for a friend. If you have something, like, feed us that fuel, because that's going to help us to have greater conversations. So this is going to help you to be a participant. Chat is not disabled. Chat is enabled. David asked, is chat disabled? No, it's not. Or perhaps, Scott, is that something that only I can see? I think you just have to, in the chat, you have to make sure that everyone is, make it go to, right now it's set to host and panelists, make it go to everyone. And I'm going to do a little hello there. And there we go. How we doing, Scott? Great, Scott. Getting close? Man, this is going to be more fun than a barrel of monkeys. I will say that Todd is in Australia doing amazing things for fuel and helping people to. Why is this thing doing that? My phone is randomly calling him. Bear with me, guys. Thank you for sticking in. This is not the optimum way of starting this. If you're here, go ahead and pop into the chat. Say hello. Tell us where you're at. And again, we're going to have the guest of honor here with us in just a moment. Brian Biro coming at us. All right, we got the Q&A. Donnie, we can only text in the Q&A. Hey, Scott, if we can enable chat, I'm not sure why that would be disabled. I can't do that, so you're going to have to hop into that one as well. Well, that stinks. For right now, let's just use Q&A as the chat, and watch me tap dance, I guess, in front of a live audience here. David, thank you for telling us that, and Lucky, thank you for bringing that to us. Question for you. I'm just going to I'm going to kind of get going until we can get Brian locked and loaded and rocked and rolling. Um, looks like chat might be disabled. Yep. Thanks, David. Um, I want to ask you as the audience, like when you think about yourself and what it is that you're doing, how you're doing it, where does energy come into play for you? And has there been a time where you haven't been your best and you know it's cost you? And so as we do this, I want you to think about like the last time you had a moment. Brian calls them your woo moments, and I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he talks about windows of opportunity. And I just want to know, when is the last time you had a window of opportunity and you didn't show up as your best? Think back. Maybe it was with your spouse. Maybe it was with one of your children. Maybe it was with your team. It's funny. My oldest son, there's it's a business partnership that we have. So I have my business, he has his business, and there's something that we overlap in in our businesses. And so the call just before this one, I had a call that literally ran right into this one, and it happens to be the business where he and I overlap. Now, I haven't seen my son in probably 5 or 6 days. He's 29 years old, very proud of him. And I didn't know that he happened to be over at our house to get he basically he was working from here. He brought my granddaughters over. I didn't know. And, but here's what I did know. I knew that as I was preparing for back-to-back calls with people who are my favorite people, you guys, Brian, like they're just getting everything sorted out. What happened was I'm trying to get in the zone and I hear someone next to my door with a loud voice. And I could have said, "Hey, what's going on out here? I'm trying to get in the zone." Or, "Hey, I could have reached out. I could have been good." But what ended up happening was I yelled, "Hey, keep it quiet." Just being honest. Keep it quiet. And what happened was he yelled back at me. And I realized it was my son. It was my oldest son. And it ended up being a funny moment, but it made me think about how many times have I been so in my mind, in my world, that I trip over what is the real opportunity in front of me. Because the truth is that it doesn't matter whether we're looking at whatever is in front of you. If there's an obstacle there, there's an opportunity there. And I was missing the opportunity because I was focused on the obstacle. And boy, I could just hear Brian Biro inside of my mind, like yelling at me, like, "Dude, you missed your woo. You missed your window of opportunity." And so let's do this. I'm going here. Brian, hey, Scott, are we doing okay here?
I got Brian in, but I can't see him.
Okay. So Brian is in. We can't see him. We're getting closer. We are getting closer. And the other thing you can do is if you can activate the chat, because no one's allowed to chat here. We're all just listening to me tell my stories. There's a quote, and it was from oh gosh, one of the old time greats. But what he mentioned is that in the midst of any difficulty, there is at least an equal opportunity. But most of us miss it because we're consumed with trying to make things go right, and we miss what's in the moment. Let me see, BRI. Nope. I wonder if we could have him call in. This is kind of this is making me cry a little bit. This is one of my heroes. Well, here's what I would ask you to do. For those of you who are here, you have a question on finding energy, engaging energy, changing energy, using like altering your own energy or that of other people. Throw that into the Q&A, and I'm going to throw that at Brian. That's going to be a part of our work together, and we're going to co-create this amazing, lovely, and wonderful thing. There was a study done in the 1970s and 80s by a doctor, Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And what he did was he sent pagers, and this is when this was like top technology out there in the world. Like he would send pagers with students. He was studying really what I would say a part of this energy, which is happiness. It was joy. And he wanted to find out when people were the most joyful. I think I might have him. Nope, dang it. He wanted to find out when people would be most joyful. And so he started out with students. And the whole goal was every time the pager page, Brian Biro is here. Everyone, I'll get to that story later if you're lucky.
All right, I got one problem. Let me figure out the chat.
Brian Biro, he has entered the room, ladies and gentlemen. And Brian, your camera's pointed down. Maybe get it up at that beautiful smiling face, my man. Oh, Lord, yes.
Energy is finally taken over. We got to do a whole show in 45 minutes. It's supposed to be an hour. So, yay. Whoa. My whole shtick is about controlling your controllables, but my heart was pounding because I could not control this controllable at all. It was an uncontrollable.
Well, here's what we're gonna have fun together, and other people they're just gonna draw from whatever we have. And I've been tap dancing, Brian. I've been waiting for you. I'm so happy.
I know. I could see you, but you couldn't see me. And I pray you Fred Astaire out there, baby.
Well, we're pumped, and here's the deal, man. You are America's breakthrough coach, right? You've coached executives, you've authored 15 books on transformation, personal, team. Like you have, instead of getting more and more complex, you've boiled it down to this simple thing called energy. And listen, we're going to get some stuff done. We're going to shake the earth. But before we get into that, I want to know, Brian, about you and like what gives you energy, brother?
Well, I think the whole, thanks a lot, Donnie. The whole basis of what I want to talk about with you today, but this program is about, is to understand that to break through in life. That's what we all want to do. I've spoken at 2,000 events. Every event has the same desired outcome, to create breakthroughs for the participants so that they move from one level to a different level. And every single breakthrough is dependent upon three simple, clear, I believe in the KISS principle, keep it simple, superstar, three simple controllables. One is to shape your future. We're going to do another Leadership Live all about that. That's about vision. The second is the one we're focusing on today, which is to energize and engage your team, which of course, before you can energize and engage your team, you must energize and engage who? Yourself. And the third is to build people, teams, and relationships. Three controllables. But to everyone we touch, our energy is our example. And at the foundation of understanding energy is for people to recognize, first and foremost, that your energy is your choice. And here's the truth. Most people don't think of their energy like it's a choice. A lot of times we think about our energy, Donnie, the same way we think about the weather. It's like, gee, I hope the weather's great for this family outing this weekend. Hope the weather holds, as we go back to the family during Christmas time. But your energy is not like the weather. Your energy is absolutely magnificently and incredibly powerfully a matter of your choice. And when you understand that it is a choice, and then far more concrete, powerfully, importantly, how to create a better choice, watch out. Because why is energy so important? Well, there are two foundational reasons. The first allows me, I think you even did this in your tap dancing. The first allows me to introduce everybody on this call to my favorite word. And what would be a day in our life without another acronym? So why is energy so important? The first reason is it's all about the WOO, which is called the woo.
Woo!
And everybody on the call right now, just go ahead and say it. It's really fun to say. 1, 2, 3, woo.
Woo!
All right. Woo stands for something. Woo stands for window of opportunity. The woo is the window of opportunity, which is every precious moment. What do I mean? Well, you never know, Donnie, if the person you'll meet today may become your lifelong friend, as you didn't know it when you met your lifelong friends. You never know if the next time you talk to your son or your daughter, a client, a spouse, a partner, the person you happen to meet next today, if the next thing you say in that very next conversation may be so on target for what they just didn't see with their own eyes, but you saw it and then you seized that woo because you said it, right? And because of something you said, somebody's life took off in a better direction. See, the question to everyone in this webinar is not, is there a woo? There is. The question you got to ask yourself is a tougher one. How many of those puppies have you missed? How many windows of opportunity have we missed in the last month alone with the very people that mean the most to us? And why do we miss them? Well, the first reason why energy is so crucial to breakthroughs is energy helps you seize more woos. Simple as that.
Seize the woo.
Have you ever noticed, Donnie, when you have energy, how much more alert you are to possibility? When you have energy, adversity just doesn't seem so adverse. You see, within every adversity is planted the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. I think you were kind of relating to that one. That was from Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
Right? In other words, isn't it true when you think about it that the toughest challenges you've ever made your way through, when you got to the other side, no matter how tough they were on the inside, weren't they the things from which you grew the most? And when you have energy, you start looking for that seed of possibility right away. When you don't have energy, you get knocked out cold by the adversity. So the first reason why energy is so crucial to breakthroughs, to a great life, to your health, to your relationships, is energy helps you seize more woos, and you only break through when you seize the woo. Second reason, and if everyone on this webinar gets this next little key point, you got a ton, even though you were tap dancing for 15 minutes. Why is your energy so crucial? Here's why. To your children, no matter their age, for as long as you draw breath, to every client or prospective client, to every teammate, to anyone on this planet that you care about, please hear this. Your energy is your example. Your energy is your example. People won't remember that much of what you say, no matter how well you say it. And they'll never forget your energy. They get your energy before you've opened your mouth. They get your energy after you've closed your mouth. Donnie, they got your energy while you were tap dancing and trying to make this thing work while we were in technical Never Land. They get your energy over the phone. They haven't seen your face. They get your energy the way you send emails. Email does not stand for electronic mail, it stands for energy mail, for goodness sakes. Everyone we touch, that's why every email I ever send has 3 words to it. It says joy to you, because I want to create joyous energy. So why is energy so crucial? 2 reasons again. Number 1, it puts you in that position to seize those woos, and that's where we progress. That's where we grow. And number 2, even more vital, to everyone we touch, our energy is our example. That's how we really communicate. When you recognize that 93% of communication is not the words we say, 55% of communication is body language. It's physiology. This is from a UCLA study, the prime study on communication. 38% is not what we say, but how we say it. It's our tonality. So 93% of the way that we're connecting to people in this world is not about the words we say. It's about our energy. That's the 93%.
Love it. This is really fun and curious, and I feel like that it's an interesting thing, Brian, that we actually started the way we did, and I think actually even helpful. Our woo is like where we stumbled into something that should have been easy, and I know that we're not alone in this, right? A lot of these leaders here, the setup, it's how you choose to connect with the situation that's in front of you. And maybe can you reframe the woo of this of the kind of the, I don't want to call it a Zoom debacle here, but there's something here, and maybe we can unpack it and help maybe reframe that for others that are like, there's no woo, this is all sucky. Like there's a choice, and like bring us there, man. Dissect that for us.
Yeah, well, Jim Rohn, a great speaker from many years ago, often said, it's not what happens, it's what you do with what happens that makes the difference. In other words, it's not our uncontrollables that we can do anything about. It's our controllable. And so in this process that we just went through, we had to discover a lot of creativity to try to get us connected. You know, it also taught me something for the future. There's the window of opportunity that I got because I just naturally assumed, which was not a good thing, that when I opened up the email, there would be the normal little old link to jump right in and get this thing going. Well, and I opened it up. I've had this email for weeks, but I didn't think that it would be anything but what it was supposed to be. I look and there's not the link to join. So then Todd Duncan, who you're beautifully filling in for, he's in Australia. He's down under. It's the middle of the night there. So we can't really reach out to him. We had to reach out to a couple other teammates, Peter and Scott, who jumped in and did everything they could. The cool thing was we discovered something also about ourselves. This is another woo that we see. We found out we're going to do the best we can with the resources we have. You know, one resource we lost a little bit for this show was 15 minutes of time. But you did the best you could with the resources you could to make that 15 minutes powerful. So we learned something that'll prepare us for the future. And more importantly, there's several more of these events coming up with other speakers. We'll be able to make sure that they don't fall into the same abyss that we fell into for 50 minutes. Two, we found out that nobody lost their cool or got angry. We just tried to figure out how to make it work. All right. And those are great things to remember, that it's not what happens, it's what you do with what happens. And I love a little add-on to that from Mother Teresa, who said, it's not what you do, it's the love you put into the doing. Right. And that's the part about not losing our cool, about trying to do the best we could, because we're here to serve everybody's on this webinar. And that's really about making sure our energy was still directed towards making the difference, not towards, oh, why did they give me the wrong link? Blah, blah, blah. You know, that served no purpose. We just got ourselves going, focused, and now we're rocking.
And you know, as you were going through and saying choice, Viktor Frankl said that the ultimate freedom is human agency. It's choice. And literally right on that knife's edge, you could go, I'm angry, everything's bad, or you can go like, okay, here's what it is. What do we do here? And it's just, I personally was in the same boat and like, okay, well, who do we reach out to? How do we do it? Like, and it was, you kind of go through your checklist, but for me, altered expectation, you know, and what do you do with that altered expectation? Can you run an audible? And I think all of us are capable. And sometimes that's the actual gift of the moment. And so I love it. And so I'm going to ask you this. So let's just imagine, and we want to hit all of the parts where you're going, but let's imagine someone is a leader and they're at a place where maybe a teammate let them down, something didn't show up the way that it was supposed to. They were disappointed, which means they had an appointment and now it turned into disappointment. They had an expectation and it was broken, right? How can we as leaders, as parents, seize that woo and turn on a dime? Do you have any secrets or any ways that we can immediately notice and reframe, Brian?
I love that you asked that question, because there is one word that is the single most destructive word in the language of teams, families, organizations, any grouping of people. And that word that's so destructive is the word BAME, blame.
Ooh.
Blame kills teams and kills relationships. All right. And there's a simple reason why blame has no constructive purpose. And here's why. Donnie, if you think about blame in the context of time, is blame about the past, the present, or the future?
It's past.
It's always about the past. All right. Can you do anything about the past? Can we do the fact that we had 15 minutes of technical problems? No. So whenever you find yourself as a leader blaming somebody, where are you? You're in the past, where you have no constructive ability to change it. So what I encourage you to do, the beauty of understanding that blame is about the past, which you can't do anything about, is to step forward as a leader and make a pledge to become what I call a blame buster. All right. Blame busters don't pretend that bad stuff doesn't happen. We can't pretend that we had a technical glitch. But what a blame buster does is what we just have done in this conversation. They say, okay, what happened? All right, what happened? We don't pretend it didn't happen. We don't pretend if it's our mistake. What did I do wrong? What didn't I do the way I would have wished I would have? Then what can we learn from it? What are we going to do next? So as a leader, when you become a blame buster, you create a team that is willing to take positive risks. And the only way that you can break through is to do things you haven't done before. If you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, all right, that's the definition of insanity. When you have an organization with a leader who blames people, the analogy is like the old carnival game called whack-a-mole. Remember that game? Whack-a-mole, this little guy pops out and you got this mallet and you're supposed to whack as many moles as you can as they're popping up. Well, an organization where the leaders are blaming rather than blame busters, people are afraid to stick their heads up. And that means they're afraid to get creative. They're afraid to say, what if we tried this? We've never done it before. What do you think? And therefore you get an organization that becomes stagnant, that does not move forward. So the real essential ingredient in really freeing your present energy to build a better future is to be a blame buster. One of my favorite quotes about understanding the power of being a blame buster came from the great legendary football coach at Alabama, Bear Bryant. He said, "I'm just an old country plowhand." He said, "But if I've learned one thing," he said, if you want a team to come together as one," he said, "when things go great, they did it. Things go pretty good, we did it. Things go bad, I did it." In other words, I'm going to take responsibility and give credit.
Yeah.
So blame busters always, always, always do that. They look to say, what can we learn? How can we move forward? It's a foundational secret to being a great leader and having great energy, and it's called humility. To me, one of the most important things that I do as a professional speaker these days is to reawaken all the people that I have a chance to speak in front of to the importance of humility. And here's why, Donnie. So many people in this day and age, and I guess it's partly because of, maybe it's partly through social media, it's a little bit about hype and that kind of thing. Many people have come to believe that you can't be confident if you're humble. It could not be farther from the truth. You can be incredibly humble and incredibly confident, because being humble doesn't mean you think less of yourself. It means you think of yourself less.
Good.
And the real reason why humility is so crucial, if you want to be a breakthrough leader, is, think about it, Donnie, only those who are humble are lifelong learners.
That's good.
Because only those who are humble would rather make a mistake, do something wrong, and learn from it than to pretend they're always right. And therefore, only those who are humble understand it's amazing what's accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit. They want to give the credit. They want to focus on character, not reputation, because your character is who you are, your reputation only what others think you are. And if you focus that way and you live with humility as a blame buster, eventually your reputation and your character will become one.
That is yes, right? I've heard it said that you
Ooh, yes.
Woo! You can either look good or you can learn, but you cannot do both. And so I threw it out there to the crowd. Why do you think humility is missing? I think it has to do with the way a lot of us have, I don't want to say perverted goals, but when we make goals about ourselves, and sometimes the truth is, Brian, I think people maybe they haven't taken the time to define what success really means to them. And so they just turn it into the trophies that everyone else says is success. And so that feels probably more on the selfish end. And slight humble brag for a moment, because this was my definition of success. For the last 2 weeks we were in Costa Rica. Brian, I think you'll love this. I was not only attending my daughter's wedding, our oldest daughter's wedding, she got married in front of the Arenal volcano. I was asked to perform the ceremony of my daughter.
That's beautiful.
And so if you want to ask me what success looks like, that is success, that I have that type of relationship, that I'm asked into that by my children. Now, values is what we give value to. That's where mine are. Others are these other things that if you don't take time to consider it, I think it actually can make you a little bit more maybe the opposite of humble, right? Like this, what, I don't know, what's the opposite of that? What is selfish? Maybe, I don't know. What's the, or braggadocious or
Narcissistic, whatever. Yes.
narcissistic? You have
You
something.
know, Donnie, behind me, if people are watching the show, behind me, you see a pyramid back there, and there's a picture above it. And my mentor, the forward to my first book, and also one of the two legends I wrote about in my most recent book, my 16th book called Lessons from the Legend, was the greatest men's college basketball coach of all time. His name was John Wooden. John Wooden coached UCLA basketball from 1949 to 1975. His teams at UCLA won 10 national championships. Now, perspective, no other coach in men's college basketball history has won more than 5 in a 42-year career. Coach Wooden won 10 in 12 years. But he would have been the first to tell you he didn't win any in the first 27 years that he coached. In fact, he used to say it's what you learn after you know everything that makes the difference. But the amazing thing about John Wooden, and what I think is the lesson that we can learn because it unleashes our energy, is that he focused on the choices that we make. He focused on what we put in. He had a very specific definition of success. The pyramid here is called the pyramid of success. It actually, for those who are Ted Lasso fans, it's on the wall of Ted Lasso's office if you watch that wonderful show. But Coach Wooden said success is peace of mind. And it comes from only one thing. It comes from knowing you've given the best of which you're capable. In other words, it's not what happens on the result side, it's what you put in to move to the result side. And so in 27 years at UCLA, the greatest coach of them all never said the words winning or losing to his players. He never said the words. Did he want to win? Oh, yeah. But what he wanted was for everyone on the team to focus on the things they controlled, their effort, their energy, their team attitude, their hustle, that. And if you did that, that was what success meant. In other words, it's the difference in my own life. I had one word, Donnie, that transformed my whole life. It's one word switch. As a young guy growing up, I had a dad, like many of us had, who could never say, "I love you, son," who could never tell me that I was good. And he was doing the best he could. But as a result of that, I had this intense need for approval, external approval. In other words, I had to be the best at whatever I did. And Donnie, you would not want to play a game with me because I had to win just to feel like I was any worthwhile at all. One day at 21 years of age, at the darkest day of my life, when I didn't know if I would keep living, I realized that my whole life I have been striving after this thing called being the best, which was, of course, up to everybody. It's all about the need for approval. And on that day, I made one word switch in the way I pursue life. The switch was from the word "the" to "my." In other words, I would no longer strive to be the best. I would live my life searching to try to be my best. And I transformed me. I was fun to play with now because I didn't have to beat you. I just wanted to be the best I could be. I could celebrate people doing beautiful things that had talents that I didn't have. I could value and honor differences. And it transformed my energy, transformed my life. And I realized after getting to know John Wooden, and he was my friend after he wrote the foreword to my first book, that was his message. I want everyone that I have the chance to impact to know that success is on the inside in what you put in to be the best of what you're capable. And that's about it, the choices you make and the actions you take in the direction of those choices.
Wow. Well framed. I want to come back to this energy thing because I know like you're like from the vision, like we have this, once you have this new view of success. And by the way, a lot of people, we need permission to even like to break off from the path to have that. But now, okay, cool. We have this vision, and now you really help bringing transformation, sometimes from the outside in, which is the same as the inside out. It is this. How can we know if someone has energy? And maybe talk to me a little bit about that. And also, I think you have something called like that energy zone, that comfort level of where we're at with the energy. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, the starting place is where we began, that your energy is your choice. All right. So how can you cultivate a better choice? So I've worked with energy for 49 years, all right, through 3 careers. First as a U.S. swimming coach, working with athletes to rise to their potential. And if you follow sports at all, you'll understand that almost every single champion says it was about our energy. It wasn't about our talent, it was about our energy. There's tons of talent. It's what we do with that talent that's our energy. Then I was in a corporate career and we were trying to build a culture that had this forward motion, we're together, synergistic energy. And now for 35 years as a professional speaker. So I've been working on energy for 49 years. And again, I believe in that KISS principle, Donnie. Keep it simple, superstar. Right. And the easiest and yet the most effective and simple way to begin to work on your energy is for everyone on this webinar to start right now by looking at your energy on a 10-point energy scale. In other words, how can you improve something if you don't measure it? All right. So the starting place is let's look at energy on a 10-point scale, simple scale. On that scale, 1 is comatose. All right. 10 is a child on Christmas morning. 10 is the way you feel when you just nailed it. 10 is the way you and I both felt today, Donnie, when we finally got together on this show. It was like,
yeah, the Zoom hug.
all right. So in my seminars, in my speaking, I have people break wooden boards. When they break their board, it's like level 11. So on that, now that we've got that scale, that simple mechanism to measure our energy, I'm going to ask everyone on this webinar what I call the $1 trillion question. And for many people, this is one of, if not the most important question they've ever been asked. It is a life-changing, health-changing, family-changing, career-changing, you-changing question.
Mm.
So when you think about that 10-point energy scale from 1 to 10, where have you been living your life? Woo. That is a great question. Are you living at level 6, level 7? I don't know where you're living. You do. But unless your answer, Donnie, to that question was, 99.9 on that 10-point scale, the next question is the breakthrough question, the action question, the transformation question. How can you raise that number? All right. I see Lucky Buxton 8.99. How can we raise that number no matter what it was? All right. Because how can we raise that? Because if we can raise that number, think about it. Suppose you said that, and I asked that question, your instant automatic answer was on my 10-point scale, I've been living at a 7. What is that 7? That 7 is nothing more than your E habit. It is nothing more than your energy comfort zone, which unless it's high, as high as you want it to be, it's actually a confinement zone. So how can you elevate your energy by choice instead of chance in every precious woo? All right, so we start with that 10-point scale. All right, now that we've got it, here's why your energy is a choice. There are 3 key elements to elevate your energy by choice instead of chance, and you can work on it right now. In fact, I'm going to invite everybody on this webinar to join me over the next 30 days and go on an ETP. That's an energy transformation project. To join an energy transformation project. And the starting place is so simple that we miss it. And from this moment forward, know that your energy is created by the way that you move, period. Your energy is created by the way that you move. In other words, anytime you've been at your best, you've been your most creative, you've been your most alert, you've been your most loving, understanding, you've been your most dynamic. You have moved your body distinctly differently than when you've not been your best in those same contexts. What specifically? Your body line and posture, your facial position, your eye position focal point, your actual physical movement, and your breathing. Now, Donnie, I've said this to some people before, and they'll go, Brian, if I had more energy, I'd move more. Move more, and you'll have more energy. That's where the choice resides. I bet every single person on this call, on this webinar, has somebody in their life. Maybe it's your dad or your mom. It's a grandparent, it's a boss, it's a colleague, but you have somebody in your life who at a very advanced age, so somebody much older, who has incredible energy. And though I absolutely have no idea, of course, specifically who you're thinking about, I bet I know 2 things about that person, important things. One, they're one of your heroes. They're somebody you admire so much because of that energy. And number 2, they keep moving. We don't get older, we just stop moving. I'm actually 94 years old, Donnie, but I just keep moving all the time. No, I'm just kidding. I do laugh because I say, I'm 70 years old. When I'm on stage, I'm 25. Sometimes when I get off stage, I'm back to 70, but on stage, I'm 25 because I'm filled with this movement. So on our ETP, if you want to start to transform your energy to move from 6.5 to 7.5, the starting place is to change your movement comfort zone. In other words, add movement to your life. Simple. Get yourself a stand-up desk and add 5 minutes a day of actual movement. Never sit at your computer or your desk unless you're on a call like this for more than 20 minutes without doing 20 seconds of active movement. Now, you and I both move a lot when we're doing this call. All right. Now, for about 2 weeks, if you change your movement a little bit, people around you will think, why are you so weird? All right. It will feel weird. But at about 2 weeks, that movement level will start to feel different. It'll start to feel normal. It'll start to feel weird to go back to your old movement. You do it for 3 weeks, it'll feel very weird to go back. You do it for a month, you'll never go back. When I left coaching as a swimming coach, I was in the worst physical shape of my life. I was overweight. It seems weird because as a professional coach, you think you'd want to take care of yourself, but I didn't equate that I needed to have energy myself that include the energy of others. I did what we just talked about. I changed my movement. I started running. The first day I ran, Donnie, was in Clovis, California, near Fresno. I ran 4 minutes. I thought I was gonna die. It was the hardest 4 minutes of my life. But all I did was I added 1 minute of running in the out direction and then coming back. So a total of 2 minutes more running each day. Before I knew it, I was running 30 minutes. Then I ran an hour. Then I ran 2 hours. In 5 months, I ran my first marathon. All right. And I lost weight, but I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was just simply changing my movement. So the first secret to changing your energy is to change the way you move. If you want to move your life, you got to move yourself. We can prove it right now to everybody on this webinar. Everybody right now, all right, well, no matter what you're doing, wherever you're sitting or standing, sit up a little taller. Put a big goofy grin on your face, goofier than before. All right. Take a rich, full breath. All right. And relax for a second.
Say, woo!
I guarantee you, if you actually did that, you felt at least 1 point movement on that 10-point scale. So the first key to energy is to change the way you move. The second is more profound. In fact, you've touched on it beautifully, Donnie, because you brought up probably the greatest example of somebody who talked about this second key to energy in Viktor Frankl. The second key to unstoppable breakthrough energy is to understand that the level of your energy is going to be in direct proportion to your level of purpose. Whenever you're full of purpose, you're full of energy. Have you ever noticed when you get to do what you love to do, energy is no problem. It doesn't matter how much sleep you had. It doesn't matter how you've been feeling, what's been on your mind. When you get to do that thing you love to do, whether it's dancing, whether it's writing, whether it's speaking, your energy is no problem. But do you ever notice what happens to your energy when you lose sight of your purpose? It's like somebody puts a big old pin in that balloon.
Sure, for sure.
So how can you build energy into and build purpose into your life to elevate your energy in a simple way? Because again, the ETP, the Energy Transformation Project, depends on it being simple so that it fits into your life. You don't need another job. You already got one. So adding a little bit of change in movement can fit into your life already. But the key to elevating your purpose is to begin every day with one purposeful question. Ask yourself, what am I truly grateful about today? What am I truly grateful about today? The word has a secret in it, especially if you're not really big on spelling. What you're grateful about has within it the capacity, when you focus upon it, the power to make you grateful. What you're grateful about will focus you on your priorities. Your priorities are the pathway to purpose. Viktor Frankl, you talked about, wrote Man's Search for Meaning, probably one of the most incredible books ever written. For those who don't know, Viktor Frankl was in Auschwitz, perhaps the worst of the concentration camps during World War II. He was Jewish. But the most profound thing that I read in that book was this. He basically said this: if you were to have lined up the people before they went in the concentration camp, and then to assess, to guess who would survive the worst inhumanity to man, the starvation, the brutality, you probably would have based your guess upon their physical strength, their obvious physical energy.
Mm-hmm.
But you would have been wrong. He said those that survived were those that had a purpose left undone.
Mm.
Whether it was work they felt they must get back to, whether it was a child that they knew were depending on them, those were the people who survived the worst inhumanity to men. So in other words, if you're not inspired, you're on the way to getting expired. And so at every event that I speak at, Donnie, I bring a photo with me. It's a photo of my family. I show it up on the screen, but I don't really show it to show the audience. I bring it with me to show me. And the last thing I do before I speak is I go to this photo and I spend full out energy time with my family, in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit. I think about how much I love them. I think about how many times we've laughed till we've cried and how we've cried till we've laughed. I think about how much I want to do for them, give for them, be for them in whatever time I'm blessed to have left in this life. And the instant that I focus full out on my purpose, something magical happens to me. I promise it'll happen to you. And I know it does. I know it'll happen to everyone on this call. The instant I focus full out on my purpose, it changes me.
Mm.
You know, no longer does it matter if my hip hurts. No longer does it matter if my knees are aching. No longer does it matter if we had 15 minutes of technical difficulties. All that matters when I get clear on my purpose is that if I don't give the people in front of me right here, right now, which is all I've got, the best I have to give, if I don't give them all I've got, because I dedicate everything to my family, that means I'm not giving my family my best.
Mm.
And I simply won't do that. And so it transforms my energy more than anything else on that 10-point scale. So the first key to elevating your energy on our ETP is start to change the way you move. I think somebody on the chat said, I have work that doesn't fill me up, doesn't inspire me, something along those lines. I'm not going to comment on whether you should leave that job or not leave that job, but I will comment, you can still change the way you move in that job. You can elevate your pace. If you want to win the race, you got to change your pace. All right. And the second key, even more profound, is to really focus on your purpose by starting with gratitude every day. There was a book called Power versus Force that asked the question, what is the relative frequency of various emotions? And the highest frequency emotion is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, when you're in an attitude of gratitude, you can't be down. You can't be depressed. You can't have low energy because you're vibrating at a higher level through the power of gratitude. Every great person that I admire starts off with gratitude.
Yeah.
It's not about them. It's about how much they're grateful for, whether it's grateful to others, grateful to God, grateful to be putting their feet on the ground and standing up that day.
So
we've covered 2 of the 3 keys. Got 1 more to go, and I think we're right on time.
Oh, we look at that. See, we are in the place we need to be. And right now, I know, Brian, that and I'm seeing a comment, just people, some of us are having a hard time feeling it. I love the fact that, and just going back to what we actually got to demonstrate in the beginning, where we get to choose the feeling we frame things with. So many people, they won't allow themselves to any feeling of victory until they achieve the thing or get the trophy or get to wherever. But what you're doing is you're giving us a chunk to be it's almost like they're refusing to be grateful until they get whatever they want, which is childish, really. But instead, it's it's bringing the future into the now, and it's bringing the past into the now, and it's being in the now. Gratitude, and I want to show you something that I do too, to practically, I call it feeling your work. Because if you don't feel it, you're going to be a robot. And at most, if we're saying mind, body, and spirit, maybe your mind is present and your body is present, you're doing the thing and you're doing it well, but your spirit is not if you're not feeling what you're doing. And so I love that you're really empowering us to own what we're doing for us and for now, not just for some great future that we may never get to. Can I show you my little thing?
I love it. Love it. Please. Yes.
You brought it out of me. Hold on a second.
I love it. Whenever we're on these webinars, people don't realize it because we're only sitting from waist up. We all are wearing shorts every time. So
What I call, instead of a vision board, this is my pursuit board. And all I do is I look at this every day, and some of the work that I have, I don't like, but it helps me to feel like I am the treasure bringer. And so when I frame what I'm doing, I get to feel whatever I'm about to do. Oh, I'm not making a phone call. I'm bringing treasure. I'm not doing whatever. I'm not paying my tax bill. I'm bringing treasure. So all of these things can still be framed in the feeling that feels good and
absolutely.
positive to us. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Here's a simple way to do what you do with your bringing treasure to everyone. For a week, try this. Just pay attention to the number of times you say to yourself, whether it's about your work or it's about something you must do at home, ask yourself how many times you say, I have to do this. Those words, I have to. Now, we all learned the words have to when we were little children. All right. And they're important when we're little because our parents want to protect us, kind of keep us safe. But there was always two words attached to have to. You have to do this or else, those are the other two words, or else something bad's going to happen. If you do that again, you're going to get a spanking. If you do that again, you're going to hurt yourself. You do that again, you're going to be in trouble. So as we're growing up as little kids, we hear you have to do this or else something bad will happen. As we get older, we start to internalize and say I have to, and we don't necessarily say or else, but the or else is embedded in our thoughts. I have to do this work. Now, when you feel that you have to, you're coming from a place of fear and you're not going to have forward energy. So pay attention first. And when you ask yourself, what do you really have to do? I can only think of one thing we all have to do. We all have to die. Everything else is a matter of choice. All right. So instead of saying, I have to do this, come from that place that says, I want to, choose to, can't wait to, love to, like to.
Yes.
Right? I want to do this. I choose to do this. All right. If it's something you really don't want to do, just go soft. I choose to do this. I choose to go out there and mow the lawn. I choose to go do this workout. And shift from have to want to, choose to, and you're going to have a different kind of energy, an energy that's driven towards what you want rather than trying to avoid what you don't want.
Let's go.
So, and that's kind of a perfect frame for the third key to breakthrough energy.
Talk to us about that third key.
I've spoken about energy, Donnie, for 35 years in my events. And every so often, I've had people come up to me and say something like this, Brian, I have a ton of energy, except when I get around him. I have this one person in my life who sucks the energy right out of me. They are my energy vampire. And I always say the same thing to them. I never say it to be harsh or cruel. I say it to set them free. So if you have somebody in your life who kind of fits that description, you get excited, they bring you down. You think all the reasons you can, they lay out all the reasons you can't. If you have somebody who fits that description in your life as an energy vampire from this moment forward, Bob Newhart said it best, stop it. Stop it. It's not their energy. It's not their power. No one can take your energy away from you unless you give them permission. And anyone can take your energy away from you when you give them that permission. Please learn it from me, who learned it the hard way. All right, because the person I was sure was my energy vampire for a big part of my life was the same person who was my hero growing up. It was a man by the name of my father. My father was big and tough and quiet and strong. He was LAPD, Don. He was a cop in LA. And more than anything in this world, what I wanted from my big tough daddy from the time I can remember was just once for him to say, I love you, son. Or I'm proud of you, son. Or just once for him to give me a hug. But my dad could not do that. You know, his mother died when he was 7 years old. And my uncle told me that when she died, it was almost as if he closed completely up. But I didn't know that. I was a kid. I just knew that I wanted my dad to love me, to be proud of me, to hug me, but he just couldn't do it. By the time I was 10 or 11, that hunger for approval began to manifest sort of an inner drive. Maybe if I get great, maybe if I'm the best at school or at sports or both, maybe then I'll be good enough. Maybe then my dad will be proud of me. Maybe then he'll hug me. Maybe then he'll love me. But he couldn't do it. And by the time I was 17 and a half, I went off to Stanford University and I started to say, to heck with them. I don't care. I don't need them. I'm going to a good school. Life is cool. I'm doing fine. And Donnie was a big fat lie. He was still my hero.
Mm.
And maybe more than ever, I want him to be proud of me. But over the next 14 years, I ran away. I had no relationship with my father. No visits, no cards, no holidays, no birthdays. If I called up home to talk to my mom and he answered the phone, we had precisely the same conversation. He'd say, I'll get your mother. 14 years. I was a slow learner. But after 14 years, Donnie, two things happened in my life that finally woke me up to the most powerful truth about our energy and our lives. And that is, if things are to change, I must change. And the first thing that happened was I met my wife, we fell in love, and we got married. And at the best time of my life, there was a wound that opened in my heart that didn't seem to heal because my dad wasn't a part of it. And then 1 year later, we gave birth to our first daughter, my daughter, Kelsey, her only grandchild at the time. And he never held her. He never saw her in person. He never knew her. And the wound got deeper. And finally, my wife and I talked, and I said, honey, as hard as it was throughout my life to be around my dad, I don't want our children to never know their grandparents. So we made the decision to go visit them. But I made a bigger choice, and this is the one you can all make right now on this webinar at this moment at 1:58 p.m. Eastern Time. You can say, as I did, when I visit my dad for the first time, I'm going to bring my own authentic energy. I'm going to be myself. You see, I always tried to be who I thought he wanted me to be. I thought he wanted me to be like him, quiet and tough and strong. That ain't me. I'm a goofball. I cry at openings of supermarkets. I'm the worst. So we went to see my dad, and for the first time, I brought my energy. I chose energy. And in one day, life changed. The first thing I realized was how much I love my dad and how much he gave me. He's the one who taught me about energy. He's the one who taught me about work ethic. He's the one who taught me to do the right thing when nobody was looking. But I couldn't see it was because I was too busy being bitter. I couldn't get better. And when I realized that, I realized he had always told me he loved me in the only way he knew, by working 2 jobs. He couldn't hug me, but he could work 2 jobs. He could work on a bike so I'd have it on Christmas morning, but he just couldn't say, I love you. My dad died on February 17th. And over the last couple of years of my life, every phone call, every visit, every time I held his hand, the moment I held his hand when he died, the last words we said to each other was, we love you. And that never could have happened until I released that energy vampire, because I created him. So if you have that energy vampire, release them. Start every day with gratitude, and remember that your energy is a choice, starting with the way that you move.
Full circle. You're gonna get one more. We're gonna get one more thing from you, and I want you to think about the one tip that you can give. But man, what a beautiful complete circle where we go through choice and blame, and where blame lives, and where the actual opportunity lives, which is always in the present, and what we can carry and not carry into that. So, Brian, thank you for bringing that through that journey, though abbreviated, powerful. If you're a leader and you want to up your energy level, what is one daily energy habit, just one, that you would suggest to us? You've given us a lot.
Be fully present. In other words, being fully present means your mind, body, and spirit is with the people you're with where they are now. And the most powerful way to be more fully present is listen first before you formulate what you're going to say. When you live in the present, you're going to have powerful energy.
B Squared, thanks for bringing the thunder. We appreciate you being a part, and thanks for adapting, overcoming, bringing the love, man. This energy today is off the charts, man. I've got to tell you, since I've been in Fuel, you've been my hero. You didn't know it. You've been my mentor. You didn't know it. And so for me, what an honor to actually connect with you. And I hope we could do it again, my friend.
So much, Donnie. That means a ton to me. I sure appreciate your tap dancing for 15 minutes too.
I'm going to work on my routine. I'll do better next time. Bye, everybody. Go crush it today. You bring the energy. You bring the thunder. And listen, light the fire in yourself so you can light it in others. Thanks for being with us. And we're happy to have spent a part of your Wednesday with you.